Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another live this morning. And good to have you on with us. And I'm going to look at a few studies this morning. You can, if you see the headline there, statin drugs, crime against humanity. Good morning, Jeanette, to you, and Nick. My staff is watching. You wonder if they get tired of it. Nativity and John, good morning to you. And having bacon and eggs and vitamin C. I know you're having coffee. Rosa, good to have you on with us this morning. Marin, and good morning. And Keith, to you. Guys, it's good to have you on with us this morning. We're going to have some fun. We'll talk about a few studies. And Judy and Micheline and Brandy is on. So the staff is on this morning. They're the boss. The bosses are on. Okay? Jerry, how are you? Okay, so here we go. We're going to have some fun here this morning talking about Betty and Anna. Not talking about Betty and Anna, but talking about some statin drugs. I'm going to do 3 or 4 studies, I think, this morning. Esther from Miami. I bet you it's warm in Miami. It's actually very... Esther, this is when we get, we're like Miami today. Very warm. Okay, Maria and Nicole. That's why I'm outside. And good morning to you. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody here. Donna, Glenna, and Esther, like I said, from Miami. You guys are great. Thanks for coming on. And Roxanne's got a vitamin C in hand. And Kim, good morning, Kim. And Cindy, you guys are great. Okay, so big crowd on with us this morning. Yesterday, we had a huge crowd. And all the shares afterwards, it was quite something. Okay, so let's just, here's the headline. I didn't do it, I didn't write it, but I read this yesterday. Statin drugs, crime against humanity. Now, I think you know me well enough, and if you don't, I'm just going to share with you that drugs are, look, if a drug saves your life, I'm all for it, okay? So you hear me, I always give you both sides, right? Like there's advantages, disadvantages. But there's only one medication where I just don't ever believe in it. I just have to tell you that. To me, it's based on faulty science, and that is of the statin drug, okay? What are statin drugs? Cholesterol lowering medication. And I don't think I go a day without talking to you about cholesterol and the cholesterol hoax, in my opinion. Okay? So 2 studies came out in the last few days on statin drugs. And one of the headlines was, it's a crime against humanity. Okay, so let's go over that. One of them suggests that, especially in older people that take statin drugs, and many, many older people. Now, remember what I've said to you. Statin drugs, and specifically Lipitor, is the #1 selling drug of all time. It always blows me away every time I mention that. It makes my head explode. Lipitor is the #1 selling drug of all time. It's the Wayne Gretzky of drugs. And I just can't get over it. And guys, listen, if it even put a dent in heart disease, I'd be all for it. Okay? If it put a dent in heart disease, I'd be all for it. But the premise was wrong. The premise was the problem with your heart or your arteries is cholesterol. And so this drug will lower your, what they call bad cholesterol, which is LDL. So they found a medication. You have to go back in a good 40 years now. They found a medication that will lower your LDL. Okay? And so they can prove it to you. Like you can take a cholesterol medication and your LDL will go down. But so what? What does that do for you? What does that mean? What does it mean if your low density lipoprotein goes down? It means nothing. Well, as a matter of fact, here's what they're saying, okay? So here's another study, and I'll bring it together, okay? Because I don't want to spend all morning on this, because you've heard me rail against this stuff so many times, okay? The higher, this is after you, okay, someone has a heart attack, 100% they're going to leave the hospital. I don't care what their cholesterol was. They will leave the hospital 100% of the time. I've never heard of an exception. Even though many a times the cholesterol was normal, they will leave the hospital on a statin drug. 100% for sure. And cardiologists will admit that they could lose their license if they don't prescribe it. Even though, for example, that 60, 70% of patients that have a heart attack, their cholesterol is within normal limits. But here's what it says. If you've had a heart attack, here's this study. The higher your LDL, okay? The higher your LDL is, the better your survival rate is, and the better chance that you don't have a second one. The very thing that they try and do and bring your cholesterol, hammer it down, because it's the bad guy. They're showing in these studies, one, that after a heart attack, I don't know if they've done studies before it, but after a heart attack, if your LDL is low, your risk of having another heart attack is higher. If your LDL is high, your risk of having another heart attack goes down. It's unbelievable. So all I'm saying is, and plus, the study showed in older people, if you're on statin drugs, your risk of having a cerebral hemorrhage, a stroke, is increased. Isn't that the reason that they give you cholesterol medication? Is to lower your risk of having a stroke and a heart attack? Yes. So let me re-emphasize the truth. The truth is, what you really need to be concerned about is not LDL. You need to be concerned about your triglycerides and your HDL. Why is that? Because if you have high triglycerides, you have what we call metabolic syndrome. And if you have metabolic syndrome, your risk of a cardiovascular event or stroke goes up big time. So you want to have low triglycerides and high good cholesterol, HDL. So again, if you're going to send me your blood work, just understand that I will not comment on your LDL. I won't comment on it. You might want me to comment on it. Oh, doctor, what's my total cholesterol mean? I don't care. I care about you, but I don't care about those numbers. I don't. Those numbers were made up in order for you to take medication. The greatest marketing strategy in the history of mankind was the strategy to promote statin drugs. It's the crime. I didn't say that, although I like it. It's the crime against humanity is cholesterol lowering medication. Now let me just re-emphasize before I go to another study. Let me reemphasize that in order to get your triglycerides down and to get your HDL up, they both involve food. Food. So how do you get your triglycerides down? You lower your carbohydrates. You lower your sugars. If you lower your sugars, triglycerides come from crappy carbohydrates and sugars. Read your labels. Do the reset. Get your triglycerides down, and they will come down every time. Why? Because triglycerides are directly proportional to the food you eat. Yeah, you never hear that. You won't hear it. Why won't you hear it? Well, the pharmaceutical industry is not going to tell you that. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just telling you they're in the business of selling medication. Come on. So think about what I just said. You can lower your triglyceride. Try 3 fats, triglycerides. 3 fats make dangerous fat in your blood, and they don't come from fat, they come from sugar and carbs. So that's number 1. How do you get your triglycerides down? Change your diet. Triglycerides are formed in your liver when the suitcase is full, and it's full of glycogen when you eat too many carbs. And your body's smart, is just trying to empty out your liver. This is what, folks, we call it's one of the classics of metabolic syndrome. And 88%, that's not my statistic, 88% of the population have metabolic syndrome. It's the elephant in the room, even with COVID and everything else. It's the elephant in the room. Everybody's worried about the virus. If you have a healthy immune system and you have good triglycerides and you have good HDL, the chance of you getting COVID, even if you get it, you're not going to get sick. You won't. Proven fact. And don't tell me about some kid in Texas got sick. Come on. Some people get sick from drinking too much water. Come on. No, I'm just telling you the truth. Okay, now secondly, HDL, okay, so this is what I'm interested in, triglycerides and HDL. How do you elevate your HDL? Good cholesterol. How do you elevate it? You want that to be high. They are the FedEx trucks on the highway of your blood vessels. You want HDL. Why? Because they're going to go after and they're going to hitch their trailer to your triglycerides, and they'll pull them right out of your body. You see, you need good cholesterol. You need HDL. And HDL is food. So tell me what it is. You know what it is. How do you get good levels of HDL? From the animal kingdom. You can't get cholesterol. I talked to you about this yesterday. You do not eat cholesterol from plants. It's not in the plants. Now, by the way, 85% of your cholesterol is made in your liver. 85% of it. And you know me. God doesn't trust you enough to eat enough cholesterol. I think God was looking down the corridors of time and looking at the 1970s when the cereal companies told you it was a bad idea to eat bacon and eggs in the morning. eat our cereal because they're great. Frosted Flakes are. No, they're not. You want to elevate your triglycerides, eat Frosted Flakes. You want to elevate your triglycerides, eat Cheerios. You want to elevate triglycerides, eat oatmeal. So how do you get your HDL up? How do you get your HDL up? Eggs, meat, and cheese. And the more good cholesterol you have in your body, the better chance that you'll never have a heart attack or stroke. Cholesterol. Your brain is made up of it. So remember that, okay? So that's that. I got to tell you this because something came out last week. I don't know if you saw it. I was going to comment on it last week, but I got sidetracked. And I wanted to bring it up because it was unbelievable to a guy like me, by the way, okay? Now, I don't know if you knew this or not, but Lancet last week had to make a retraction, okay? Lancet, okay? It's one of the most prestigious journals, medical journals, the Lancet. They had to do a retraction on the malarial drug used, well, it has been used for COVID. They had to do a retraction. And the reason was that they got caught with their pants down. They fudged numbers. Incredible. And do you know that just yesterday, the NIH, the National Institute of Health in the United States, fired 54 scientists because of their ties to pharmaceuticals and especially foreign pharmaceuticals. They were getting money, paid to fudge the books. And guys, that bugs me. You have no idea how that gets my blood pressure going. Fudging the books because they have a vested interest. Why would they not want to, the malarial drug, by the way, hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine. You remember that? And I listened to a lot of doctors say they found it to be very effective. If you were very ill with COVID, they were using hydroxychloroquine, which is a malarial drug that's been used for years and years and years. But there's no money in it. There's no money in it because now you can get it off market. The patent on it is gone, and now you can knock it off. And it's been so when pharmaceutical companies no longer have a patent, they don't have a vested interest anymore in protecting the patent. The patent is gone. So what happens? They made up that this drug was no good for COVID. Now, guys, that's not my expertise. We'll talk about it, I think, this week about everything COVID. But all I wanted to bring out to you this morning is imagine in the last week, 2 major stories. You might not even have heard of them. These are major in the health business. It's major studies because they were fudging the books on studies. One of them negative because they didn't want hydroxychloroquine to work because there's no money in it. They want a vaccine. There's going to be billions, not millions, billions of dollars in a vaccine as they race towards a vaccine for COVID-19. Now, I'm not telling you whether to take a vaccine or not. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you what's in the background. And then the other one at NIH yesterday, They fired 54 scientists with ties to pharmaceutical companies abroad. Guys, this is incredible. And so, you know me, I'm sort of the news behind the news. I want to try and bring some clarity to some of these things that are happening so that you understand, and maybe you didn't even see these things. It's astounding to me. Astounding. Okay, so, okay, let me hit another one. Here's the headline, and let me talk about it just for a minute. Type 1 diabetics don't do well in spite of advances in medicine. Okay, so type 1 diabetes has been around for a long time. It's an autoimmune. Type 2 is what we call adult onset diabetes. And I've said this so many times that if you have even pre-diabetes, it's part of metabolic syndrome. If you have elevated insulin, you have a high circulating insulin, effectively you're already a diabetic. But we call that adult onset diabetes. It has everything to do with your diet. It just simply, it's your diet. Type 1 is autoimmune. You're born with it. Or you get it autoimmune wise, usually when you're very, very young. The body turns on itself. The pancreas is not working properly because of autoimmune. And now you need to be on medications. And medications, God bless them, for type 1 diabetes, insulin, it saves your life. Now, I just want to bring you a little clarity on this study, because here's what they said. Type 1 diabetics don't do well in the long run, in spite of advances in medication. There's good advances in medication in terms of the pharmaceutical industries do some good things. They do. You got type 1 diabetes, you need medication. But I'm going to tell you why they don't. Type 1 diabetics have 100% increased chance of having a stroke or heart attack, or kidney failure, and blindness, and all these things. They don't do well. Really, they don't do well, even though is it because the medications over a period of time lose some of their effectiveness? It's probably that, yes, for sure. But secondly, it's not just that. It's because even today, even in here we are in 2020, they haven't got the memo yet. What's the memo? If you have diabetes type 1 or type 2, okay? If you have diabetes type 1 or type 2, it don't matter which one, you have an allergy to carbohydrates. You have an allergy. You can't eat carbs. You don't do well. But even today, in 2020, the medical profession and their associates, dietitians are associates of the medical profession. They're trained by the medical profession. And God bless them. I know they mean well. I do. I never go after their motives. But dietitians, if you're a type 1 or type 2 diabetes, they'll say, well, yeah, but you need a balanced diet. Do you see my headache coming? Do you see the headache? You see the inflammation around my brain right now? It is the stupidest. It is so crazy. What causes type 2 diabetes is you're a carboholic. Now listen, some people get away with eating a little bit more carbs. In the short term, they get away with it. They think they get away with it. They eat more carbs and they can have sugar. Oh, I can have, I can eat ice cream till the cows come home, and I can drink soda and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? If you're a type 2 diabetic and especially a type 1 diabetic, you can't have that stuff. You can't have it. It's poison for you. You have an allergy to it. I won't tell you the cat story. I've told it too many times. Here's a shortened version. The lady comes into the office and she's got allergies. And I say, what are you allergic to? And she says, my cat. I said, well, get rid of it. She says, I can't. I said, well, I can't help you. That's a short version. I like to draw it out. But that's the short version. If you have trouble with blood sugar, if you have trouble with insulin, you need to get rid of the carbs. It's as simple as that. I didn't say it was easy. It's not easy, but it's simple. Don't make it complicated. Oh, doc, but it's type 1 diabetes. I don't care. It doesn't matter. They can't have carbs. They don't do well with carbs. And you know, when their blood sugar goes down and they race for a chocolate bar, I understand why they do it. But it's like reaching for cocaine. It's like it'll give you a high. It'll give you a temporary fix, but it's not helpful in the long run. You should never have a chocolate bar. You should never have granola. You know, granola. Do you know that? I hate to be generalistic, but men don't like granola. Women do. Oh, a lady after yesterday's show, I was laughing because she said, Dr. Martin, what do you have against salad? I loved it. What do you have against salad? I said, you're not a rabbit. Okay, but if you're a diabetic, type 1 or type 2, you just can't have carbs. Okay, so there's the study. In the long run, why do type 1 diabetics don't do well? Because they need medication, and the reason they need so much medication, I know it's autoimmune, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I fully know what type 1 diabetes is. The problem is food. You're not going to cure it like type 2, but type 1, you can manage it much better and in the long run do much better if you cut your carbohydrates down. As a matter of fact, I suggest you cut them out. Never have another one. Oh, Dr. Martin, what am I going to do if I don't have another carb? Your body will do very well. If your body needed sugar, it'll take steak, vitamin S, and turn it into sugar. Did you know that? If you don't believe me about sugar, empty out your 5 liters of blood, and you will find your body does everything. Everything. All of your metabolism works together to keep your blood sugars tightly regulated. Tightly regulated. Because sugar left in your bloodstream is exceedingly dangerous. I mean, that's the clue of all clues. That when I'm telling you sugar is the new smoking, sugar is poison, it's poison on steroids. And it's, you know, I've talked to you in the past about the food industry. And in my new book I'm writing, there's 99 names on food labels for sugar. 99. I counted. 99 hidden names for the new fructose that they put in everything. From ketchup to your bagels, to cereal, to your sodas, into yogurt, and they put it in everything, and then they hide it. The food industry is not stupid. Oh, it's fructose. It must be good. Nah, it's not good at all. It's poison. There's nothing that will poison you more than sugar. And by the way, when you're eating cereal, I don't care what kind it is, it's going to be sugar in 5 seconds. When you have a piece of bread, oh, Dr. Martin, it's whole wheat. I don't care. It's going to be sugar in 5 seconds. Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself. All of that is going to turn to sugar. It'll be sugar so rapid, you know. So just be very, very, very careful with that. Okay, so I brought to you 2 studies. I had 7 or 8 here that I was going to do until I get down into my rabbit trails and I get my blood pressure going and my stress levels going. Okay, now I'm not sure what our plan is for this week in terms of whether we're going to do live. Last one we only got through a quarter of it, I think, or maybe a little bit more than that, and we had technical difficulties because of a windstorm here in Sudbury, and it was playing with our Wi-Fi's, both Tony Jr. and I. And then we're going to talk, but we'll do a question and answer for sure Friday. So send in your questions if I haven't answered them already online, okay? So sometimes I might touch on it all when I'm bringing to you some health news, okay? So if you have a chance, share this, okay? Because it really helps to get the message out when you share it. And then if you have any questions, let me know. Love you guys and talk to you soon, okay?